Thank you, Chair Carlson. So as mentioned, the first bill on the agenda is House File 14, which was referred directly to this committee yesterday. So Chair Carlson, if you're ready, you can go ahead and move and present your bill.
Okay, Madam Chair, I'd move that House File 14 be recommended to be placed on the General Register. And I also have an author's amendment as well. So I'll move the 0817 amendment.
Great. Would you like to describe the amendment as the bill, or should we attach the amendment and then do it as one?
Basically, the amendment members will be the bill. And this is the supplemental appropriations bill. And much of what is included in the amendment was presented and discussed in the amendment to Senate File 47 in last month's special session that was adopted in Ways and Means. It reflects a number of the governor's supplemental budget requests, but the number came down from roughly 168 million in last month's proposal to 58 million that's before you, and it includes 58 million in offsets in state agency funding to pay for it. So the amendment is balanced in that regard. In terms of the big picture and the appropriations, 7.2 million for the state patrol for their patrolling of highways, and 1.3 million for capital security. And new is 4.6 million for the state patrol as cost dealing with civil unrest deployment. 13.8 million in TANF for MFET benefits. That's 25.3 million for direct care treatment through DHS funded programs, and 13.1 million for PCA attendance. And there was a change in the compensation level, and Mr. Marks can perhaps comment on that if there are questions. 3 million for veterans suicide prevention and homeless prevention. 11.7 million for Department of Corrections staffing overtime. 3.1 million for the BCA sexual assault examination kits. 1.4 million for BCA crime lab. Also new is 750,000 for the Department of Human Rights investigation in the Minneapolis police. And also then in the bill is a 58 million agency operation budget reduction offset in new spending. And I know that's something that Mr. Franz, Commissioner Franz has been working on, and can comment if there are questions about the offset. We have Representative Moran's bill is included. That was added last month. It's the foster care background checks, and we delay the establishment of the Public Employee Relations Board. That language was included in House File 108 in Special Session 1. And the state grant extension language, that's a bill Representative Nelson carried as a separate bill during the first special session. So that's what's currently in the bill. Obviously, there are a number of things that are not included in the bill, being that we were at a higher level of a special session 1 at the 168 million. So with that, Madam Chair, I would be open to questions from committee members. And I would ask either the leads from the minority party or the chairs, if there are questions, to feel free to chime in about their relative part of the budget and or language in the bill. For example, there's rather extensive language on land purchases. We had that last time. I think if Representative Nelson is, or Hanson, excuse me, is present, or Representative Nelson, about that section of the bill that he's dealing with. They both can answer questions about that. I don't think either of those areas was particularly controversial, but if there are questions, they added, at least with Hanson's amendment last time, quite a bit of language to the bill. So with that, and then, Madam Chair, when I'm done, I neglected one thing. I wanted Mr. Marks to give us a spreadsheet update on a couple of the bills that are before us. So when we're done with this bill, perhaps we can revert back to Mr. Marks while you're still in the chair.
Okay. All right. Sounds good, Chair Carlson. So we do have some questions. So Representative Scott.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I had some questions on the Department of Corrections funding. And let me try to get to the bill here. I know we're in a hurry. I've got the spreadsheet in front of me. Could you tell me in a little more detail, trying to find the language for that. Could you tell me in a little bit more detail about what that appropriation is for specifically?
Chair Carlson.
Yeah, others can chime in. The largest amount there, if I recall, I think it's 9 million something, is for staffing and overtime. I think members are probably aware of some of the problems that they have had. For example, at Stillwater, attracting and retaining staff. So that would be the largest single amount in there. And we do have Mr. Franz present that can perhaps, I know he's been involved with these negotiations and can perhaps chime in with more detail if needed.
Sure, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Franz, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I think this has been an issue we've been working on for some time, and as you know, we tried to implement and did implement some hiring mechanisms to increase the capacity and the number of officers there in our correctional facilities, but been unable to really get to the levels we would like. And so a big chunk of this ask is for the overtime that goes with not being able to get the number of officers we would like. And so I think one of the keys here is to maintain a safe environment and do this payment for the overtime and staffing. That's the biggest component too, as Chair Carlson mentioned. I don't have the other details in front of me. I don't know if Budget Director Rayton has any of the more details besides the overtime and staffing issues.
Yeah, and by the way, I might chime in. I said roughly 9 million. It's actually 11,742,000 for the overtime and staffing.
Yes,
the largest part. So strike my comment about 9 million plus, but at any rate, it is the largest component there.
yes.
Madam Chair?
Representative Scott.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Is Commissioner Schnell on the call at all?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay, because my understanding is that the prison population is considerably down. It's down about 21%. The figures that I was given say that it's 2,069 fewer inmates today than we had 18 months ago. So I'm just wondering, if this number of 11 point whatever million was based on the most recent numbers, and if somebody could get some clarification before we get this to the floor, I think that would be really helpful. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Franz or Ms. Rayton, I know, was asked to comment if she's here too.
Yeah, let me just, Madam Chair, Representative, let me just say that these numbers are based on the most recent analysis at the Department of Corrections. I think one of the key things that we need to note is that even though the numbers of the inmate population may fluctuate and go down at times, part of the request we have in the bonding bill is to make some ongoing repairs and maintenance at the corrections facilities, because these facilities are really old and they require more supervision than they would if we were able to make some of these changes and make some improvements to the security in some of the facilities. So we're boxed in a little bit by the nature of the facilities that we have. We can only do so much. And so the request here really is based on the most recent numbers. Even though there is been a decline in the population, we still need this amount of money for staffing and overtime. But we can get you more information, Representative, on that too.
Representative Scott.
That sounds fine.
Thank you. Chair Carlson.
When Representative Scott mentioned perhaps more information when the bill is on the floor later, assuming it passes this morning, I think we have to understand too that this bill is one that's a work in progress. So there will be continued work on some of the items in the bill as we move forward. So people can keep that in mind as well.
So further discussion to the amendment. Give a minute for folks on the phone too, if they need to unmute. Okay, I'm not seeing any further discussion at this time. So if we could have everyone unmuted. And so in front of us, we have the A20-0817 amendment. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, nay.
No.
The motion prevails and the amendment is adopted. Is there any further discussion on the HF 14 as amended? Seeing no further discussion, Chair Carlson, a few comments and then renew your motion.
Yes, I would thank members for their consideration. The bill reflects the work and input from both House and Senate majority and minority parties and the administration. And I would only point out, as I said earlier, that as the bill moves forward, it's a bill that's a work in progress. So further discussion when the bill hits the floor, well, obviously it'll be much in order depending on discussions through the next few days. So with that, Madam Chair, I would renew my motion that House File 14 as amended be recommended to be placed on the General Register.
So the motion is before us. Ms. Farkman, can you take the roll?
Representative Carlson.
Aye.
Carlson, aye. Representative Olson.
Aye.
Olson, aye. Representative Garofalo. Representative Garofalo. Representative Albright. Representative Albright.
Aye.
Albright, aye. Representative Bernardi.
Aye.
Bernardi, aye. Representative Davids.
Aye.
Davids, aye. Representative Davney.
Davney, aye.
Davney, aye. Representative Driscowski.
No.
Driscowski, no. Representative Eklund. Representative Hamilton.
Aye.
Representative Hamilton, aye. Representative Hansen.
Hansen, aye.
Hansen, aye. Representative Hausman.
Aye.
Hausman, aye. Representative Hertas.
Hertas, aye.
Hertas, aye. Representative Hornstein.
Hornstein, aye.
Hornstein, aye. Representative Kresha. Representative Kresha. Representative Liebling.
Liebling, aye.
Liebling, aye. Representative Lilly.
Lilly, aye.
Lilly, aye. Representative Long.
Aye.
Long, aye. Representative Mariani, excused. Representative Marquardt.
Aye.
Marquardt, aye. Representative Nelson.
Nelson, I.
Nelson, aye. Representative Noor.
Noor, I.
Noor, aye. Representative Pulowski. Representative Pulowski.
Pulowski, I.
Pulowski, aye. Representative Poppy.
Poppy, I.
Poppy, aye. Representative Schumacher, excused. Representative Scott.
Aye.
Scott, aye. Representative Torkelson.
Torkelson, I.
Torkelson, aye. Representative Vogel.
Vogel, I.
Vogel, aye. Representative Wagenius.
Wagenius, I.
Wagenius, aye. Representative Garofalo. Representative Eklund.
Eklund, I.
Eklund, aye. Representative Kresha.
Grisha, I.
Kresha, aye. Representative Garofalo. That's 25 ayes and 1 nay.
Okay, on a vote of 25 to none, the motion prevails and House File 14 as amended is on its way to the House floor.